Hello, everybody. Welcome to week 6 of Social Problems. This week we're covering race, ethnicity, and immigration. First, I just wanted to mention that I finished recording or finished grading all of the essays from week 4. By and large, they were great. I really enjoyed reading all of your thoughts about the topics and like how you felt about the class material and stuff like that. I know that it's like with online classes, it's just very like detached feeling, and I hope these videos like kind of improve that a little bit. And I really do enjoy reading your thoughts, and I feel like that's something I miss from being in the classroom with students and getting to actually talk with you guys and see you kind of develop ideas and think critically about these things. I do want to say that there was a number of students, not a high number of students, but there was a number of students that decided that this essay assignment was the right place to take a stand and basically give me the middle finger and be like, I don't want to learn any of this. I don't want to read any of this. I don't want to participate in any of this. It's fine. It's your prerogative. You're going to fail this class. You're not going to do well in this class. So I would encourage you to really think twice about using your essay assignments as the place to give me the finger effectively, because it's really not a great idea, and you're not going to do great in your class if you do that. So this is probably like a piece of advice going forward too. You can disagree. I encourage you to disagree. I feel like this class is, in a lot of ways, it's meant to be provocative. And to be in the sense that it's like thought provoking. And I really want to assure people too, I was just reviewing some class material before I started recording this. I've been teaching since 2014. This class, and I've been teaching this class, social problems. I haven't taught it in a minute. It's been a couple of years since I taught this course. But going back in some of my old materials, I've been teaching this class since 2014, since I started teaching. These topics have been the same thing. These are not new things. We're not responding to anything new because of what's going on in the world. I know it's easy to look at what's going on and think wow, this is a really crazy time. It's always been a crazy time. These have been vexing problems for a very long time. The video I had you watch with Bill Moyers and the French economist who I always mess up his name, Thomas Pinckney or something like that, Piketty. That was from 2012. That was actually, if you wanted to relate it to anything, that's more related to the Occupy movement than to the current moment. But it's frankly timeless, considering how intractable these problems are. And I want to reiterate that we do have a large body of research that tells us that providing cash assistance to poor people is good social policy. I know. The knee-jerk reaction is everybody's going to be lazy. I'm pretty lazy. I think you all probably know there are elements of yourself that you can be lazy. Laziness is a virtue, in my opinion. I think we all need to embrace laziness and to loaf around a little bit. We were not designed as a species to stare at spreadsheets and be on Microsoft Teams all day. In my personal opinion, I feel like our destiny is to lounge around at a waterfall and eat fruit and just chill. However, here we are working our silly jobs, and we have to work and we have to do our things. Anyway, there's a large body of evidence that tells us that, because the thing is, whether you like it or not, we're subsidizing somebody. We're either subsidizing poor people. In some of the Northern European countries, they subsidize poor people and working class people more than they subsidize rich people. Here in the United States, we've chosen that we're putting all of our chips on rich people. We are almost exclusively subsidizing rich people. Tax breaks, cash incentives, help with construction projects, almost completely eliminating any taxation on the transfer of wealth. This was sort of what they were alluding to in the video, is that one of the real missed opportunities, I would say, with the United States is that since it was a new country, relatively speaking, this was an opportunity to wipe the slate. Like you didn't have descendants of kings and royal families and oligarchs and all of this business. This was an opportunity to kind of start fresh, and everybody has a shot, everybody has a chance. But since we have created a system of laws that effectively encourage the accumulation of generational wealth, as in one generation probably did work very, very hard and had to come up from their bootstraps and do all of that kind of American dream kind of stuff many generations ago, 4, 5, 6 generations ago. They kind of willed their inheritance off to the next generation, and then that was used to just be compounded interest. Really, you just put it in a bank account. You almost don't even need to do anything. Like, just put it in a bank account and let it just compound over 30 years, 50 years, 100 years, whatever. Then transfer that to the next generation, and so on and so on and so on. And now you have a whole generation, you have whole families that never actually worked because they're just living off compounded investments and compounded interest that have been willed off to them, from somebody that actually worked like 100 years ago or something. I know this is a very gross simplification of the rich class, or I would refer to as the Epstein class, since now we're seeing that there's almost a one-to-one relationship between all of these people. But like, this is why it's so intertwined. I mean, it's not a coincidence that like all of this stuff that we're seeing come out of the Jeffrey Epstein files and all these emails and stuff are these people that are just like so detached from reality and don't really have a system of normal ethics. I really feel like yes, I'm a professor, I'm an instructor, I have a PhD, I'm very educated, but I also grew up very poor. And I feel much more comfortable around poor people and working class people than I do around like the Epstein class of people, like rich people. You know what I mean? Like that level of like rich people that have like millions of dollars in investments and stuff like that. I would much rather hang out with somebody that like works a shift at the grocery store down the street from me. Like, I feel much more kindred spirit with that person than somebody that's like flying off to Epstein Island and so that's really kind of what we're talking about. I know there's like sometimes there's like some ambiguity about like, what is a rich person? Is that person that owns the restaurant down the street from me who makes like $200,000 a year off of the restaurant or whatever? Like, are they rich people? Like, they are. Like, they're wealthy, probably like upper middle class or comfortable. They're not the 1%. Like, they're not the 1%. They're like the 30% or the 10% maybe, But anyway, I mean, I know this feels like a lot of time to be spending on this topic since it was last week's topic, but I feel like it does. Just kind of moving on past the education, which I hope you did find interesting. Moving on to this conversation about race, ethnicity, and immigration. These topics are very much interconnected to each other. And particularly in the moment that we're in right now, I feel like we're having two big reckonings in society. That we're talking about immigration, obviously, with what's happened in Minneapolis. And then again with like all of this stuff about like affordability and and I think for a lot of us, like normal people, like it's just become impossible to live. Like, how do you go grocery shop? What's really funny to me, I just happen to be going through my old photos in my iPhoto, in iCloud, I mean, and I found a picture from it was like 2005 or 2004, something like that. I was like 22 years old, living in like my first apartment by myself, and I'd just gone grocery shopping, and I spent $100, and I don't know, I was just like a dumb 22-year-old. Not that I'm sure I know some of you are 22 in the class, but like I feel like we're all a little dumb when we're 22. I took all my groceries and put it on the table, and I put a little note that was like, this is $100 in groceries. I was looking now at it in 2026, so like 20 years later-ish. I'm looking at it, and I swear, like I had to pick my mouth up off the floor. It was crazy how much stuff I had for $100. It was like a table, like a small kitchen table, was full with stuff like bread, milk, eggs, meat, all the kind of things, veggies, fruit, cereal, like you name it, like condiments, like it was a whole shopping trip. Now I feel like I go to the grocery store, I buy like five things and I'm at $100. I buy like meat, eggs, milk, $100. You like look the at you like look at groceries, it's like $100, you know? And it's absolutely crazy to me. Like I don't understand how like regular people are supposed to live now, you know? And when we really think about how like the people that have come here illegally, like I think we can all agree that there's a lot of people that came here and violated the laws and whatever and came here, like they're under the same kind of pressures, and they're trying to make ends meet either from evacuating from their home country, fleeing, because they didn't feel safe or like they had any kind of future, and then they're coming here and they're working, some kind of BS jobs and whatever. I think the most striking thing about what happened in this latest iteration is that, I think again on a topic that we all could probably agree on is that like when you have people that are here that are undocumented and they have some kind of criminal record, I think that was something that we were like, okay, yes, if those are people that should be removed, that should be dealt with, and make the communities feel safer and things like that. But I feel like what has been the most striking thing to a lot of people is that you see what's happening in Minneapolis and in some of these other places that had these ICE raids that were going on. And what you saw is that they were arresting people while they were dropping their kids off for preschool, or pulling workers out of the kitchen. Like these guys were like working as like dishwashers, and they're like raiding like a Mexican restaurant or something, and there's like a friggin' dishwasher is getting arrested, because he's here because he overstayed a visa or came here, was like smuggled into this country just to work and to send money back home, or like arresting people like women at like nail salons because they're undocumented and stuff like that. And it's like, whoa, 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 what happened to the criminals? I thought the whole point here was that like these people were all violent, crazy criminals. Like these are all just like people working jobs that nobody wants to do. Like these are people like working in strawberry fields. Like there were those big raids in like the strawberry and blueberry fields in California and stuff. And it's like these are not criminals. I get it. Like they're here illegally. Like I understand that, but like that doesn't make somebody a criminal. Like if your only offense is that you came here and you're undocumented, you're not a criminal. Like it's not a crime to cross a border. I mean, it's like it's a crime in the sense that like speeding is a crime, or like reckless driving. Like they're offenses. Like they're typically civil matters. Like you don't typically get locked up for being being undocumented, And I feel like this is something that that has been really like lost in this era that we're living in. Like it's not illegal to be undocumented. Like you're undocumented. It's not illegal. Like a person is not an illegal. You're not illegal. Like as a human being, like you may be there illegally, like may have taken illegal means to get you there, like through smuggling or some of these other things. But like it's not, I mean, it's like the people are just here, they're undocumented, and by and large they're here because the system is so broken. Like I was reading a study that the average time for somebody from El Salvador to come to the United States is 7 years. If you want to come here in the correct way, like you file your paperwork, like let's say you're like 30 years old and you file the paperwork and you want to come to the United States to work, to make some money, to like, get a foothold in American society and whatever, it's going to take you 7 years before you can even set foot in the United States. Like think about your life 7 years ago and what conditions you were in. And if you made a choice 7 years ago and you were like, that's a big thing I want to do, and it is going to take you 7 years before you can actually like make a move on that, And I think a lot of people fail to realize that, like, I feel like I hear this argument a lot. It's like, well, they came here the wrong way and they should have just gotten in line. And, it's like, I feel like it's real easy to say, like, maybe I'm saying this as somebody that my whole family are immigrants. They did come here the right way. Like coming here from Syria, it's not easy to get into this country when you have to get in a plane and come over here, as opposed to, somebody from South or Central America. And it was just a lot easier. Generally, my parents came here in the 70s, and most of my immediate family came here in the 70s. And it was just generally a lot easier during that time for immigrants to come here, and particularly from the Middle East. Like, obviously, that has been a lot more difficult now. Um, but anyway, I mean, it's just like we're living in such a time that's divorced from reality. And actually, I think this is a very good segue into now. This is chapter 9, the material. This is when we're having the next essay assignment. And what I want you to do is to, in the textbook, they have kind of a really good long list of myths versus reality. And some of them are kind of the same things that I talked about, is that, like, criminal, like immigrants are criminals, and some of these things. And I note the page numbers in here, page 336 and 337. What I want you to do is talk to two people. I want you to talk to either two family members or two friends if you don't feel comfortable talking to family members. And I want you to go over some of these myth versus reality things with them. And I want you to kind of cover the things I have listed here, write down their social location, social history. Before going into the conversations, calling them interviews is maybe a bit much because they're not really like, yeah, I don't really want you to go in with like a structured interview. I just want you to kind of like, have a conversation with them about these topics. First, to say what you anticipate the reaction would be, and then what their reactions were, and did it challenge some of their beliefs that they may have had, and does it give a space to have a discussion about the topics. And I think you may be surprised. I think that, like, I mean, again, I think we're just living in like such a time of like rampant bullshit, for lack of a better time. I mean, some people call it like fake news, or I mean, it's just like we're on like living on bullshit mountain. It's like it's just lies. I mean, it's just flat out lies. And it's really unfortunate because, again, these are real problems. Like, these are for real problems. Like the problem, like immigration, all of these things are real problems that we need to handle, and they require a level of seriousness that I just don't think is being met to really provide answers for these problems. And they're just going to keep, the can is just going to keep getting kicked into the future. And unfortunately, you have situations where like these protesters were murdered during these ICE raids just for like standing up for their community members. And it's really just tragic and unfortunate because like these were very avoidable deaths, like Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Like these are just people that were part of the protests. There was like crazy events that kind of led up to their circumstances of their deaths. And I feel like it's kind of a Rorschach test to look at those circumstances and be like, this is what happened. Like, on the one hand, you have like Pam Bondi, the Attorney General for the United States, getting up and calling them domestic terrorists, which is like totally insane to me because these are two people that just died. They were just like, like Alex Preddy was a nurse, Renee Good was a mom. She worked with kids, and these are just like regular people that got caught up in like crazy circumstances. And then it's like what I just really struggle with like really understanding like how do we get into this moment, because again, we do have these real social problems that need to be dealt with, and they didn't develop overnight, and they're not going to be solved overnight, and they're really not going to be solved through deportation. I'm sorry, like this is not a problem you can just deport your way out of, because as we've learned, they ran out of criminals very early on. Like, they got through the list of like, here are people with criminal backgrounds, and they just started having to deport just regular old people that were here undocumented. Like, their worst crime is that they were here undocumented. And I get it. People have a lot of feelings about like, if somebody's here illegally and they've overstayed visas and they've, kind of run afoul of the immigration systems. And I get it. And I think those are very valid concerns. But I think, again, what we really need to look at is the system. Like, the reason that individuals are falling into those categories is because the system is so broken. Like if there was a path, I can guarantee you, I've known a lot of immigrants, my family included, their main goal is to stay in the normal part of society. People don't like living in the shadows, being undocumented. People want to be valid and to be able to walk out on the street, not have to fear about getting arrested, not have to fear about getting kidnapped or their kids getting kidnapped by, border patrol agents or, whoever it may be. And I really feel like it just seems so obvious to me. Like obviously, like these people that are working jobs and just trying to live their life, like they want to be legit and they want to have like a legit path, to living a normal life, So anyway, that's my kind of soapbox. I feel like, besides like the racists and the Nazis, I feel like most people would probably agree with me. I don't think anything I'm saying is that radical. I think that like, we are a country of immigrants, whether you like it or not. And, sometimes those immigrants may look a little different than you and they may talk differently and they may have different customs and different traditions and stuff like that. But like, we're all here trying to make this thing work. And I feel like, we're just in this crazy time where it's very difficult to like, have honest conversations, because it's like so heated and so charged, and there's just so much just bullshit and it's just so much misinformation, that it makes it very difficult to like, really get to the bottom of like what we can do to solve these intractable problems. So anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that. If you have any problems with working on the assignments, any suggestions about anything, please reach out to me. And hope you all have a great week. The weather's a little bit, tiny bit nicer this week, and so I hope you get to get outside and enjoy that too. So I will talk to you all later. See ya. Bye.